everyone. So I am doing my video of what I've read last week. Every Monday I'm going to try to put out videos of like what I read for the last week. And so the ones that I read last week were kind of like, I kind of, I really didn't have a great week last week reading these books. Most of what I read were kind of like 3 stars. So yeah, I will say it's a little disappointing, So the first book I ended up reading, this was Roosevelt by Cate Wells. Now this one here is the characters of Theo, they call him Roosevelt, and Carmela. Now this whole series here are all age gap romances. These are all age gaps. This one here, he's younger, she's older. And I really liked him as a character. I really liked him as a hero. He was really sweet. Like, he would do a lot of things for her. She owns, I guess her and her brother kind of thing own. Though technically I'd say she doesn't own it because her brother technically owns it. They own their grandparents' restaurant. She ended up putting everything in her brother's name. I guess maybe to take a little load off of her so that way she's not having all this responsibility. But that was obviously a mistake on her part because her brother is a piece of crap. Her brother's a piece of crap. He abuses her, so there is trigger warning for like sibling abuse, physical abuse. He abuses her when he doesn't get his way. You know, when she goes and she challenges him, he's a coward. He's a coward. He's a coward, and he's spoiled. And her parents had passed away, I think in a car accident or something. So she was basically raised by her grandparents. And so of course, I think it was her grandmother had passed away. Grandmother or grandpa, I can't remember. But one of them had passed away. And so now all of them are gone. And so she's basically trying to keep this family business afloat. And it doesn't help with her brother the way he is. You know, he would rather go and take money from the till than to actually go in there and help. So she has different, loyal people who've been working for her for years. And one of them is Theo. Theo's been working with them for years, doing all kinds of stuff, to help out. And I think the grandfather really liked him, really liked Theo. And kind of thought of him as like family. So he ends up kind of like getting a little close to her, kind of telling her like, hey, you can kind of look at me as a man rather than a boy. I think I can't remember, he was like 22 or something. I think he was 21 or 22, around there. And he's kind of like, you can kind of look at me as a man, because he, kind of confesses feelings to her, to her like, hey, I have feelings for you and I want to be with you, physically. And so she's kind of like, no, kind of thing, like, you're young and, I don't want to take advantage. But it was really sweet. It was a sweet little novella romance. I did enjoy that one. I would say I probably enjoy this author's novellas a little bit more. When she does longer stories, they tend to be... Everybody bugs me. So this one here was a sweet romance. There was a little bit of separation because she wanted to get away from her brother. And her brother basically wanted to sell the business. He was like, I want to sell it, because he obviously wanted money. And so she gets upset and she leaves. She goes to this small town. And Theo basically knew where she was, but he kind of wanted to coax her back, kind of thing. Like, I want to be with you. So he kept like, calling her and texting her and just kind of like telling her like, hey, You know, I want to be with you. I can take care of you, kind of thing. So he ends up joining the motorcycle club because of this. He doesn't have that job anymore. So he goes and he joins the motorcycle club to kind of like get patched. You know, right now he's a prospect, so he wants to get patched, because once you become patched, you can go and work for they have a construction company and things like that. They're trying to be like a little more legitimate rather than doing illegal things. So so he wants to be, you know, patched, so that way he can go and work, you know, at the construction. And that way he can make good money, because you all become part of like the business. You're all part of like business associates and stuff like that. So you make pretty good money at doing the job. So he figures he can take care of her, you know? And yeah, it was just, and he was all like into like, he's like, I want to have babies with her. And I was just like, dude, slow down. You're like 22, man. You got time, man. You got time. So it was just, you know, it was just really sweet. And I enjoyed it. But there was, like I said, there was a bit of that conflict between, you know, like the age thing. She really kind of didn't want to, you know, like, oh, I'm too old for you kind of thing. And I was like, girl, no, you're 31. It's fine. You know, it's fine. You know, it's not like there's a 20-year difference. So, but no, it was cute. It was a cute novella. I really enjoyed that one. Now the next two, I really just wasn't a big fan of. So the next book I ended up reading a part of the same series. This one's Plum. So this is number 4, technically number 4 for the books. So this one I gave it 3. So you have the characters of Jo Beth and Adam. Now Jo Beth goes by the name Plum for her stripper name. And she works for the strip club, and that's basically run by the motorcycle club. So they have guys kind of stationed around to make sure, like, you know, nobody's being too fresh with the strippers, you know, otherwise it's douche, 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 you know, kick them out kind of thing, you know, which will technically happen if you mess with the ladies. So she's a stripper, and she's been doing it for a number of years. Was trying to do other things. I feel bad because she didn't have a great home life kind of thing, you know. And so you have Adam, who's a, you know, a guy who's got money. He was basically taken in, him and his mother were basically taken in by this, you know, his stepfather. Mother, I would say his mother was definitely a manipulator. She was the type of woman where it's like, you know, whoever she had to have sex with, you know, in order to get herself in a higher position, you know, socially, financially. That's what she did. I'll just say I don't hate the player, hate the game kind of thing. So she did what she had to in order to go and score herself a rich man, you know. So she had, you know, had gotten pregnant, and she had a baby. So he has a younger sister. Adam has a younger sister besides his step brother. And he basically, you know, was proving himself to his stepfather, like, hey, I could take over this job. I can do this, you know, job and everything. I can, you know, be a good worker kind of thing. And so he ends up seeing something in Plum, you know, in Jo Beth, that, you know, kind of reminds him of himself, like when he was younger, basically being a scrapper, you know, trying to get by, trying to survive, you know, being poor and all that stuff. So he sees something in Jo Beth, and he becomes like fixated on her. That's the way I kind of think about it. So he goes and he ends up meeting her while she's performing fellatio on his stepbrother. Yes. So he sees her like in, you know, with the lights turned on, and he's like, he likes what he sees. So he decides to pursue her, and basically like tells her, hey, you know, I want to go on a date with you. And she's kind of like, $400 down, and, you know, $100 for every hour, you know. And so I'm like, okay, girl, you know, make your money. But this one here, this is why I end up giving it a 3. This was a little too insta-love for me, especially when it came to him. He, like, fell for her way too quickly, and I'm like, dude, have some sense of, like, self-preservation, because it's like, some people, when they are in these desperate types of jobs, they can do desperate types of things, you know? So for her, she was doing the best she could in order to, you know, keep her house and all that different stuff, you know? And so she was a little bit, you know, mistrusting of him, which understandable. But yeah, the book was definitely a little bit more of insta-lust. It kind of reminded me of like Pretty Woman for some reason. It just did. It kind of reminded me of Pretty Woman, even though she wasn't a hooker. She was a, you know, she was a stripper. So it was a little bit of different, but it kind of reminded me of a bit of that. And yeah, he kind of like got too clingy too fast. And then, yeah, I got hiccups now. Great. So yeah, a little bit too insta love. And then there was like obviously conflict between his family, you know, that had money, and her. And yeah, ultimately I gave it a 3 because it didn't quite work for me the way I wanted it to. So unfortunately, you know, it was like too good to be true kind of thing. And I'm just like, I mean, this don't happen. It doesn't really, that stuff doesn't happen to strippers. That stuff doesn't happen to, you know, prostitutes, things like that. It doesn't happen to women like that. Women, when they're in those situations, they end up getting in bad situations, and it's not a pretty life for them. It is not a pretty life for them. So that one there was like, it's a 3. It didn't hold up for me. So the last one I read for last week was 40. This is Steel Bones Motorcycle Club Book 5. This one here I gave a 2. So we have the characters of Nevaeh, which is heaven spelled backwards, Nevaeh and 40. This is a second chance romance, but there is talk in here of some type of like child molestation type of thing, you know. The way it's like, the way she says, you know, she talks about it, it is, I would consider it like a form of like molestation type of thing, you know. Definitely not something good, I'll just say that. So what irritated me most about this book was Nevaeh. She was just so irritating to me because she constantly put herself in dangerous situations, you know. First it was she didn't communicate properly with 40 when he left, because he ended up leaving years ago to go and join the military because he wanted to get a house for them and all that stuff. He wanted to really kind of like settle down and have a family with her and different things like that. And she really didn't disclose the certain information that was happening in her family, in her home. She didn't disclose that. She didn't say anything. And so he goes off to the military, and she starts doing stupid stuff, and he ends up breaking it off with her. Well, she ends up leaving that area. She ends up leaving, and he doesn't see her for years. Years goes by. Meanwhile, she's gotten into like other relationships with all of these other like troubling type of males, and I'm like, girl, why do you keep getting involved with these dudes that are just not good? And so she has to leave because she ends up getting in trouble with kind of a form of the mob. This story definitely connects with Run, Posey, Run. This definitely connects with Run, Posey, Run. Because Posey was friends with Nevaeh. She was friends with Nevaeh. And so she splits. Nevaeh had split that area. And she comes back to the town where 40 and the other motorcycle club people live. And like I said, she just does stupid stuff after stupid stuff. She's like, oh, well, I've kind of grown up. And I'm like, well, you're still kind of immature. You know, you still are kind of immature, girl. So she ends up doing different stuff to kind of try to get 40's attention. Because 40's like, I don't want anything to do with you. You left. You left. I don't want anything to do with you. And so she kind of does different things to kind of get his attention. So they start up a romance again. And then she starts to tell him about the stuff that happened when she was a teenager, when they were together. The stuff that happened to her in her home life. And he was basically like, why didn't you tell me this? You know? Yeah, understand. And she just did different things. There was an ending part where it was getting close to the end where she does something to kind of redeem herself. So that kind of like saves her a little bit, you know, between the motorcycle club and, you know, everything that's going on. And like I said, it just, her character irritated me. Really, really irritated me. And I just was not liking her. So I ended up giving that a 2. And it was just not working for me. I was just like, this author, she can either do really good for me or really bad. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with this author because some of her books I really enjoyed. And then there's some of them that just really fell flat for me. And I really just didn't like. I really enjoyed Run, Posey, Run. I thought that was like probably one of her best books. But there is some of the other books in this series, like this motorcycle series, that I did like. But I would say, like, let's see, how many books are in here? You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, there's 9 books so far in this series. The 10th book that comes out is Heavy. That's going to be this month. I think it's September 15th that book comes out, I think. And that's going to be the 10th book in the series. But of all the books, I would say that I've only liked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I liked 5 books, and the other 4 I don't like. Heavy, I'm going to read it, but I got a feeling I may not like it because I'm not a huge fan of him. Unless he, like, redeems himself, I'm not a huge fan of him because he's like, he quotes, you know, scripture, you know, from the Bible, tries to act all like high and mighty kind of thing. And I'm like, dude, you run a motorcycle club? You ain't no high and mighty. I'm sorry. You did illegal stuff, you know? So for me, it's like this series, it's like half of the books I liked, the other half I, you know, don't like. Like I said, I'm up in the air with Heavy. I'm not sure if I'm going to like that book. But I will say out of all of her books, Run, Posey, Run is probably my favorite of all of her books. And then I'm going to see, because I don't know if I want to continue reading her as an author. Because there's been like how many books where I'm just like, but I want to, you know, try to give the author a chance. You know, I've already read like 10 books of hers. And I'd have to say, yeah, 6 books I've liked from her. And then the other 4, I didn't care for them. So I'm hoping like Heavy is good, because then it'll kind of even out for me. If not, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'll give this author like another chance after I finish all her books. I may forget about her and move on to somebody else. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I already had a DNF for this weekend. I tried reading a book and I DNF'd that one. Right now I am currently reading Her Soul to Take, and I'm really kind of on the edge of not sure if I'm gonna like this book or not. Because it's like based on like what's it called again? What is it? Oh, Leon. He's almost like a demon, I think. Yeah, he's like I think he's like a demon or something. It's like a supernatural one. Yeah, I guess it has like sexual scenes, violence, kink, fetish, content, horror elements, depictions of hard kink edge play. I mean, it's like obviously a dark romance type of thing. I don't know if I'm going to finish reading this. I haven't really kind of like gotten into like the meat of it yet. I'm still like at the beginning. So I'm not sure if I'm going to like this book or not, or if it's going to be like another DNF of mine. Lately, I've been DNFing stuff, you know, lately I've been DNFing stuff. So I gotta see how this one is. It is a dark romance. It is really like just dark for me. I gotta see how I feel about it. But yeah, anyways, not to keep babbling on, but that's it for this video. This month I'm trying to really read my physical copies of books because I have so many. So I'm really trying to read my physical copies of books. So I may have less books that I read this month. We'll see what happens. It all depends on the book and how fast I can read it. So yeah, that's it for this video here. Have yourselves a good day. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to each other. Be safe out there, and I will see you all on the next video. All right. Bye.